Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.
One day,
my
we're gonna have
friend.
to tell these podcast people what we're up to as our little side
for now,
slow project, but not yet. Not yet.
No, the
not
secret-
until we save
secret
the
remains.
planet.
We have to
When
save.
the planet is saved, then they can
know
what's next, because it's gonna be crazy.
what's next. It's gonna be crazy, is what we know. We know that we save the planet first, and then all sorts of craziness ensues.
Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna sip my Green Plus coffee
Please
mug.
do. It's crazy. This is I would say the next thing. I don't want to get people too excited, but it's definitely the oddest thing
It is.
we've ever come up with, and that's saying something.
It's odd, but it's my favorite.
I love it so
It's
much.
my favorite. It might be my favorite thing that we've ever dreamed up.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
but that's tomorrow.
that's tomorrow. That's not today
That's not today.
or yesterday.
It's today. Oh, it's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
It's not. It's
Yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah.
Today-
Right? Today is the world,
We got a planet to save,
the planet Earth.
and we're working on it.
Yeah.
Working heavy, working hard.
I like how I paused between the planet Earth, because I had to be like, oh yeah, it's this one.
It's
We're
not
not working on any other.
Too late for
planets.
Venus.
Too late for Venus.
Too late for Venus.
Man.
If you ever want to know, ladies and gentlemen, if you're ever curious what happens when the greenhouse gas effect goes
Oh, I read something about
bonkers,
this. It's Venus.
take a look at Venus.
Take a look at Venus.
One of these days, I'm going to have to have...
It's just a gassy planet.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's not a gassy
No,
planet.
the crazy thing about
Yeah, that's right. No, that's right.
Venus.
I
Oh,
knew that.
it's a rock planet, but Venus is. Oh my God! All right, this is the best part about when your kids are involved in some activity, and you get to meet people you would never get to meet. One of my pals now, my good friends, is Jennifer Rocca, and she's one of the people who, she's like designing, building, and launching rovers and rocket ships. And
Oh,
stuff
that's
for-
awesome.
for
JPL.
She's like
Wow.
a top dog over there, and
I love it.
she's rad and she's brilliant. And she was describing Venus for me, and she's like, when you land something on Venus, it's an hour of boredom because it falls from the sky, goes into the atmosphere, and the atmosphere can be best described as hand sanitizer.
Hand sanitizer. That's what the atmosphere would
That's
feel like?
what the atmosphere would feel like. Hand sanitizer.
Goo.
So then so then it basically, like, the ship has to kind of sink through the hand sanitizer to the ground. It takes like an hour to get from the top all the way down to the surface. At which point they have 3 hours. They put all of the best technology you can find on Earth
Yeah.
to keep it from melting.
Yeah.
And it survives on the planet for 3 hours. That's how much time they have to get data. To
So
gather data.
basically, the air on Venus feels like New Orleans in July.
Yes. It's New Orleans in July.
I love that city, but man,
Yeah.
if you've ever been in there in the middle of the summer,
It's hand
not-
sanitizer.
It is hand sanitizer air. You're
Yeah,
like,
but on the surface of Venus, it is. I think she said 3.5 times hotter than boiling.
whoa,
Yeah.
whoa,
Yeah. Hot.
Whoa,
Hot enough to melt all the metal on the
hot Venus.
yeah, on what they send down there. But isn't that fascinating?
Yeah, that's why they
And
sing "I'm your Venus, I'm your fire, your desire."
Yeah.
Because that's why.
Because they're talking about how hot
talking
Venus
about how hot
is.
the Venus
It has
is.
nothing to do with love or passion. It's all about Venus.
Do you want to know something that kind of cool? This is a true story.
Yeah.
When I was born, the year I was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the night that I arrived in the world, Venus was visible in a certain way above the moon.
Yeah.
And they wrote about it in the Tulsa newspaper.
Yeah.
That it hadn't happened in that visual, the way that it had lined up. It was very specific.
Yeah.
And they named my name in the
Really?
newspaper because I was born on this rare occasion. Isn't that kind of neat? So
You were-
I was born under love, I believe. That's what I believe, is that I was brought to this earth to love
Wow, Jacob.
and not be hand sanitizer air.
I didn't know that you were famous.
Famous in Tulsa.
That's fantastic.
I'm actually not famous in Tulsa. I've got some good friends and family down there that might think the world of me, but I definitely didn't take off like most expected I would.
Like God planned when he had you born under Venus.
Right. Like when God had me written about in the Tulsa world, well, it's unfair. I had no say in that. That's really putting a lot of pressure on an infant, right?
Well, it
to put
is.
me in the newspaper because of the planet Venus being visible.
All I'm saying, Jacob, is you better crush it on this saving the planet thing because God expects a lot of you.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well,
pressure is on, buddy.
Well, here's the plan.
Pick it up.
We save the world.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I said here's the plan. We save the world, and then it gets crazy after that.
I think it's crazy after that. I want to make a quick disclaimer.
Okay.
If any of the data that was, I don't want to make JPL or Jennifer Rocca look bad because I said 3.5 times boiling or the whatever. Like, if any of my facts are inaccurate because I was listening and then not good at listening, I apologize. Please don't anyone.
What'd you just say? It was kidding.
And if my facts are right on and I remembered what she said correctly, then bullied for me.
Well, we'll put a disclaimer under the podcast that says we don't know what we're talking about.
Noel is going by memory and it's fuzzy, and don't hold.
Noel is not a rocket scientist.
Don't hold rocket scientists who are legitimately smart and do know what they're talking about responsible for Noel's
conversations.
crummy
She's
memory.
listening to the show and
she's like, "That's not what I said."
I did not say that.
Yeah, the hand sanitizer part is definitely right. I think I'm not so certain about how much hotter it is, but it's a lot. Yeah. The point is, it's a lot hotter.
Well, I got
it's hotter than you think.
I was geeking out about it because I love space stuff so much. I wish that we can save the planet so the podcast can expand to other worlds. Because let's fix Earth already so we can talk about interstellar space travel. Because that's what I really want to get into.
Do you know what? That's an environmental topic, though.
Is it?
We could totally talk about planets.
Let's do one on that because I would love that.
Yeah.
But today, we are going to talk about NetZero communities.
NetZero communities?
Yeah. Do you know what that is?
Wow.
Yeah.
What brought this topic up for you today?
Biofriendly Planet magazine.
The magazine?
The magazine. Our magazine. Yeah. I saw the article and I was talking to Tara.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's cool. I didn't know this was a thing at all. And I read a little bit about it. And I thought it would be a cool thing to talk about.
Gosh, yes. Tell me, let's go. NetZero communities.
So NetZero communities, I mean, you can kind of...
Those are the communities that use free internet provided by NetZero. All you have to do is sign up for the advertising, and then the advertising goes up top, and then it dials up for free.
What you do is you have pop-up ads that run on your house. And as long as you're doing that, the internet is free.
The internet is free.
Provided by NetZero, the fastest dial-up in the galaxy.
This is such a dated joke. This tells you how old we are. There used to be kids. We had a lot of kids listening.
You're thinking of Netscape Navigator, aren't you?
No. Do you remember NetZero?
No, I don't remember NetZero.
Oh, man. This is
it like Coke Zero?
This is how out of touch. I'm so out of touch, even Jacob doesn't know what I'm talking about. Yeah. When the internet started, back in the Stone Ages, in the 1900s, when nobody was alive.
Right.
They had, you'd have to do dial-up internet, right? And you get that from AOL or Earthlink or one of these other, companies that was out there.
Right.
And you'd set it up like a fax line, which that's another word no kids know, right? But you'd hear it go in and then up goes your modem and then your
lots of
starts.
Noises in old technology. That was a big thing. Noises. And fax machines, dial-up, lots of sounds.
And the phone line was unavailable while you were using the internet, by the way. And back then you had a phone line in the house.
Yeah, right.
This was the Stone Ages.
Yeah.
But you had to pay for it. There was a monthly fee to get on the internet, right?
Yeah.
So NetZero was a company that was around back then that said, no, you don't have to pay for it. You just look at these ads these banner ads.
So you were serious?
I'm serious.
Oh.
There's a real company. Banner ads on top of your browser, and then below the banner ads, you could see your browser is slightly squat, more squat than it was on your normal Netscape Navigator.
Oh, I did not know. I never had NetZero, but sounds... Like a kind of good exchange, but I think I'd get annoyed by that.
I tried it because I was curious, even though we had dial-up at the house, fancy dial-up, and then I was like, wow, this is the worst.
Yeah. Forget that. Once you have good dial-up.
You can't go back.
Can't go back. So no, NetZero, not the old school 90s web service that you're referring to. NetZero communities. What are they? NetZero communities embody the concept of full sustainability. You can kind of infer from the title itself, NetZero community. So this is like a community of people that it's not just the house, it's actually the neighborhood. It's the whole gathering place of people. They have better indoor air quality. They allow for self-sustained agriculture and emit no carbon emissions. So it's a really cool thing. And there's a lot being developed right now. And within the past year, the number that has jumped from 2012 to where we are now is like remarkable. I think there were like a dozen in 2012, and then now we've got like 510 NetZero communities. So it's really cool.
the radness.
Yeah. So this is straight from the Biofriendly Planet. You have to go check out the article.
You got to quote the author.
Yeah.
Who
sorry.
gave us
This is
one?
by Holly Wells, and she writes a lot of
nice.
really great
Holly's
stuff for
great,
us.
yes.
Yeah. She writes a lot of great stuff.
Thank you, Holly.
Yeah. So it's basically each net zero neighborhood differs in its features, but they all share the same goal: creating healthier living spaces while preserving the environment. So it's not just the community once it functions; it's the building, it's the design, it's everything from all the Energy Star compliant things that they have to do along the way. It's the designing the angles of the roof, the coloring so that it's light colored so the sun it's not absorbing too much heat.
Right.
So everything about the whole process has to kind of from start to finish has to be part of the net zero build. And so there's several. So here's the fact. In 2019, 580 zero energy building projects came underway. This number is a tremendous leap from the 60 projects in 2012. I was wrong, not 12 in 2012, 60. Still huge jump.
Understandable confusion. I mean, to
Yeah.
ask you to remember more than one number at this moment, you have to remember 2012 and 60.
Yeah.
That's
And
that's obscene.
And net zero. That's a number too.
And zeros in there.
So my head is already bursting with information.
Just too many numbers, man.
Look, man.
Look, stop listening, everybody. Let's just this one's a waste.
Let's just throw this away.
It's just too much. It's too much complication for people to understand.
Right.
I'm sorry. Carry on.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So it's basically there's several that are well known places.
Yeah.
Utah is home to Living Zenith.
Ooh.
That's the name of that place.
Do you remember the God?
Zenith Television?
I'm stuck in the old days.
Yeah,
Zenith TVs.
It's okay. You're being a dad. You're being a dad right
totally
now. You're
being
like,
a
do you
dad.
remember Zenith TVs?
Do you remember Zenith TVs? You had
yeah.
to walk up and change the channel with your hand because there
remember.
wasn't a controller.
I actually think Zenith is still around. I don't think that they're gone.
I am sorry, Zenith.
Yeah, but they're probably like right now listening and be like, oh,
Like, what? We're
still making flat screen TVs.
We have a 4K UHD television
I think
available at Best Buy today, you bastard.
I don't know if do I bleep that out?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Probably. That's probably not good.
It's okay.
Well, that's one of those like borderline words, right? Because
it's on the edge.
That's a thing. That's like a
it's an actual thing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like if you say when you're talking about a female dog.
Oh, thanks. I got two bleeps.
Do I have to bleep that one out?
Well,
yeah, you probably do.
all right.
Probably smart.
Yeah, Noel's just gonna keep them rolling on the net
Or
zero
like if-
episode.
or
No. I think we're good. We're good. We don't.
No,
need
like
it.
if you call someone a jack because you're talking about a donkey.
All right, there we go.
Did you have to bleep that one too?
I think so.
Okay. Well, those are all.
It's like, please no. He's just each one he does it. I'm like, oh, that's another 20 minutes of me finding the audio clip, dropping a bleep over it.
Technically, those are all safe
things.
words in the dictionary.
They are.
But let's
They are.
bleep them because we already asked our parents to have to explain scrotum.
Well, we
ago.
we had
Let's bleep
somebody
that too while we're at it.
Well, and actually, you want to know what's kind of neat? It's this last week we got tweeted at by somebody in Australia that we don't know, not a family member of yours, just a complete stranger, and he recommended the podcast, and he said clean and fun for the whole family. So
that's
he
nice.
recommended the fact that we were, because
What was his name?
I don't. He goes by a
Handle.
So I'd have to look up the handle.
That's
But I shouted him out.
Yeah.
I said thanks for checking us out and thanks for the shout out, and I retweeted his tweet at. So
Aw, that's nice.
Yeah. So he recommended us, and I think he embraced the fact that we were kind of clean fun for the whole family.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry. City of Zenith.
that's okay.
Utah.
We love you.
My bad.
Utah is home to Living Zenith, the first energy-efficient community in the state. Solar panels convert sunlight to power and transport it to energy storage systems for later use. Insulated exteriors prevent air from seeping out or coming in, while low-flow water fixtures support efficient management. So these are things that you'd expect.
Yeah.
So then there's another one called a Tree at Eco Village.
Tree.
So you could say, I live in a tree house. For reals.
For reals?
Yeah.
It's a tree house?
I actually don't know. It's just called Tree.
How rad would that be?
I think that would be pretty rad.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever shaken my love for tree houses even as a grown man.
Don't shake your love.
Don't shake that tree. Keep it. Tree at Eco Village. This co-housing structure exists in Ithaca, New York, and it's part of the Zero Energy Ready project. Architects created it using passive house principles. I don't know what that is.
Passive house
just
principles.
bunch of builders just like, I don't want to put this up.
Well, I'd like to add this here, but I don't want to do it in a way that would get in the way.
I don't want to be aggressive about it.
Passive
House principles.
passive house principles. Now let's try to guess what that might be for a moment. So let's imagine. So passive house principles. So you want the house to not be impacting.
Right.
So you paint it brown so that it looks like
I don't know.
nature.
No, I think
Maybe it's in the lawn. Maybe they're making local landscapes.
Yeah,
and not using
probably that.
And maybe they're having like the sewage turns back into.
Yeah, and for some reason I kept thinking to myself,
Water.
passive meant like in the entire building of the house, they're not requiring as much like big machines to put it all together. Like they're not
that's
using like
interesting.
forklifts and cranes and all that stuff. It's just a bunch of leaning panels. So they just kind of like, roll them out there, and then they just lean this one here. It ends up being like a teepee, basically. But like it's just passive. That's kind of what came to my mind. Is that
hilarious.
they don't have a caterpillar loading in dirt. They're just kind of rolling out like walls, and they're just leaning over there. It's a passive location.
Every once in a while, we have a podcast topic that neither one of us
Know enough
is
about.
prepared to deal with.
No.
And then we just guess.
Yeah.
We just guess.
I think
it's probably just doesn't. These houses don't talk a lot.
Well, here's the thing. If we gave them all the answers, then how are they going to learn and dig deeper?
How would they learn to learn?
You got to learn to learn. This is like when you're in school. And the teacher touches on just enough of the subject for you to barely pass.
Right.
You gotta inspire the kids to really take life and go, I want to know more about net zero. No, I'm gonna educate more. I've got more coming. More coming.
Okay.
So,
I do know, like what I will get into a little bit, and we're
Okay.
done with this, is we have a net zero building.
Yes, I do want you to talk about
in
that.
Guzman, Mexico.
Yes,
our first ever zero waste net zero facility.
I want you to talk about it.
So-
Why don't you go ahead and talk about it right now?
Some of that is being, is included in this.
You'll have to ask them if they had passive house.
Yeah, I just don't know what that is.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
either.
but that sounds. I mean, it sounds good.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it was everything based on what you're talking about. Like, what's the way to have the least amount of energy being wasted?
You want to know why I'm smiling?
What?
Because literally right after that sentence, it explains what passive.
Jacob, read the article before you bring it on the podcast. What's good? You're not. What kind of professionalism?
I gotta tell you.
How stupid was I to assume that you had read the article before we started?
I actually did read the article. I just
just
didn't
forgot.
remember. I just forgot that it explained. I did read it. So that's what piqued
Holly
my
is going to murder us.
Yeah, she's like,
She's
well,
going,
thanks
she's
for reading
going-
my
she's
article.
Like, oh, good. So I put all the information there.
Yeah.
You made it seem like I didn't put all the information
No,
there.
I read your article, Holly, and I read the whole thing. That's what it piqued my interest. But look, I've got a lot of numbers in my head. So I can't be held accountable. I've got
listening to
net
the
zero.
podcast.
I've got 2012. I've got 2019. 580 houses, and yeah. So anyway,
Can you imagine Holly? She's listening to the podcast at home, and she's like, "Oh God, stop trying to just look half an inch,
literally at
down."
the next sentence. Well, here's your definition. Okay, so it says architects created it using passive house principles. Period. This building method emphasizes energy efficiency and results in structures with the lowest electricity use possible. There you
Okay,
go.
so
You were right.
Yes, our building in Guzman absolutely applied passive
Yeah.
building. That's. It's just that he was explaining it to me in Spanish, and my
Yeah.
Spanish isn't good enough.
Yeah.
But yes, that's exactly what they were doing.
Yeah.
Yes, so you want to have the least amount of impact from your
Right.
energy use in the environment in how you construct it.
Right. Right.
And that's like what angles are facing the sun, what angles are shaded, what's the roof made of,
Right.
where are you putting your solar panels so they can absorb the heat, where you have the heat,
Yeah.
things like that.
It's amazing. And this was the one, this next location there's a lot of press around this one. Like if you Google net zero communities, this one kind of rises to the top. It's in Hawaii. And it's called, so this Kaupuni, Kaupuni?
Ooh.
Kaupuni? I don't know I hope I'm saying that right. Kaupuni Village is the first zero energy neighborhood in Hawaii. This affordable housing district includes 19 single-family homes and 1 community center, all equipped with sustainable features. Each house has a solar PV, aquaponics, which I had to look that up. That's when you have a water system that is, you can raise fish, you can raise your garden and vegetables, and they're all feeding each other.
The waste from the fish is used to raise the plants, and then the plant waste is used to, or the plant, to feed the fish.
Yes.
So they go.
So
they
you
go back
can
and
have
forth.
the fish. So especially in Hawaii, that has a large, a lot of the diet is fish.
We'll have Scott Henley come on the podcast, and Scott Henley this is what he does.
Really?
People around the Pasadena, Altadena area have farms. Like they have
really?
Yeah, they have farms in their homes,
Awesome.
and the farms are aquaponic.
Aquaponics.
You'll raise tilapia and you'll raise a garden at the same time, and then one feeds the other. It's a really cool thing he does.
Yeah. So this is
we can totally get into this.
Can we get an aquaponic? I want an aquaponic.
Yeah, I mean,
not in the building. Not
we can't do it here,
but we could do it at home.
But we could do it at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just think it sounded really cool. They had all these diagrams and pictures, and so this was a big part of the Kalpuni village is the aquaponics. They have low VOC finishes and electric vehicle outlets. So this says the community upholds the Hawaiian tradition of ahupua, which consists of receiving all necessities from the local ecosystem instead of commercial avenues. So everybody who lives in this village, by the way, were all native.
Yeah.
They were all selected by the Hawaiian state to you are the ones that are going to live here.
Okay.
And you have the opportunity to buy these homes. Each home was built for $300,000.
Wow.
And the normal home in Maui costs $600,000.
That's a lot. Yeah.
And each of these families were able to buy these homes for anywhere from $210,000 to $280,000. So pretty fair price for living in an environment like this.
Me?
Yeah, exactly.
In Maui?
I'd kill to have a place like that, right?
Yeah.
So I thought it was really, really cool. They have the aquaponics, the solar, the way the ceilings are tilted, they have those photovoltaic for the energy. Then they have the solar to heat the water. Then they have all these different types of technologies. It's just fascinating. I think it's really, really cool. Right. And then you basically covered our facility, right? You basically said what we have. Or do you want to talk about it a little bit more?
Well, no, it's just I'll throw in bits and pieces here and there. There's just a bunch of cool things about it.
I like it when you throw in bits and pieces.
Like they're the parking lot, right? Like a parking structure. Mm-hmm. So as opposed to burning up your cars and creating a bunch of heat and having to turn on your air conditioner and waste more energy getting your cars cool,
right?
They put up covers basically so it's all covered parking, except that the covered parking is all angled so that it faces the sun, and they have solar panels.
That's awesome.
On all of those, so they're creating energy and using, instead of having that energy get wasted and put in the car and then having to cool it off, you shade the cars and then that energy goes into the building.
That's
Things
brilliant.
like that. Yeah, and they have they're building a lake.
Yeah,
it's a cool area. So in that area we have we're digging a hole basically, and it's right by a mountainside, and so whenever it rains, there's a rainy season in that area. It's near Guadalajara, Mexico. Mm-hmm. The rain will come in the summertime, and then it'll just flood down to the hills, and this the season for a month where they get a bunch of it, and so all that can then be captured, held onto, and then they can use that water for cooling, for everything, for just the water for the facility, for water for there's a farm outside of it.
How
they can
about
use
that
to help supply that? It's neat.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Can we
and
get
then we don't have any plastic in the building.
Nice.
We don't have any. We don't if you're. Everything is in glasses that's washed if you're going to have drinks or whatever.
Right.
Water is obviously the preferred option, but teas and everything else, it's all made. They get renewable options for everything that they use that goes in there.
That's amazing.
And they waste nothing. It's either recycled or it's composted. It's rad. It's a really cool. It's pretty incredible what you can do if you put your mind to it. And that's they're doing that as part of their commitment to the Sustainable Development Goals with the United Nations. That's our Latin American operation.
I love it.
Yeah, it's really cool.
You just quoted George McFly.
Yeah.
If you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
George McFly is a hero.
Hero amongst men.
That guy punched out Biff Tannen.
He
to get the girl.
did. He sure did. They dream of creating a net zero community in Fort Collins, Colorado that would include a farm and school facilities. So they're wanting to take they're wanting to grow this idea beyond just a neighborhood, but like an actual whole town, farm, communities, school, everything. So that's a vision in Fort Collins. So this is kind of where we're headed. And the one of the things is I do have to say on the other side of things, there are problems too with NetZero.
Oh, really?
And so, I wanted to be fair and balanced and say, it sounds like this great idea, and why isn't everybody doing it, and why isn't every community NetZero, and why can't this expand? And there was an article that basically said, look, it's great. We're not saying it isn't great, but there's problems dependent on where you're located in the world.
That sounds like us, that they would say that.
Right.
We're with it, we agree, but let's not forget that there's problems.
Let's not forget there's problems, and the problems being, it's idyllic if you have a suburban area and there's, no coverage blocking the sun, right, from getting the solar panels charged. Yeah. But the moment you get into a city and you get into a big, urban sprawl, you've got all sorts of challenges with the building itself. And then if the building gets taller, then you have the complexity of there's only so much solar that the top of a building can gather to power the floors below it. So the higher you go, the more difficulty it gets to do. Like we've talked about before with the solar not gathering enough energy.
In Las Vegas, as an example, they're working on these photovoltaic paint.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So like you can coat glass, you can coat the building with like photovoltaic cells, essentially. Because in Las Vegas, the buildings are so tall, you can't open or close the windows. So since they're closed anyways, you can essentially put a coating of this material all over it, and then they can have the entire building collect energy.
Did we cover that in our Vegas episode? The paint?
No.
We got to do that. We got to talk about the photovoltaic.
We can totally get
paint.
into it.
We should dig into that.
I could probably even get one of the, because I talked to. See, this what's neat about this business is we get to go, like when you're in the environmental space, you get to meet all these people who are also in the environmental space doing these really cool things. So we can probably get someone from that company to come on also and talk about it a little bit.
Well, and next week we're going to be going to this big old conference. We're going to be meeting tons of folk in different, green stuff. I'm really excited about that because I'm excited to like make connections and be like, you guys need to come and talk about what you're doing on the show. Yeah. I think that'll be really, really cool.
Yeah.
And it is one of those communities where whenever I research our topic, by the way, I always make sure to check the date on the article because this is a rapidly growing and changing landscape.
Right.
And so if you read an article that's from 2015, that could have already been solved or there could have already been something that's outdone it just in a couple of years. Yeah. Because sometimes you'll read something and you'll go, oh, well, they're saying this negative thing. And you go, oh, that's from 2008. Yeah. That's not an updated source.
They solved that six times.
Yeah, exactly. So, but this is, this article is basically saying, it's great and ideal in those environments, but we need to factor in that it gets a little bit more complicated to get net zero when you're dealing with a big city area or high rises and whatnot. That's one of the challenges. But like you just said, with Vegas, they've already come up with this solution.
Yeah, I mean, my default answer is whenever someone says something like that, even with what we talked about last week with electric vehicles and batteries, my default answer isn't it's wrong. My default answer is okay, so let's develop something better. Let's figure out the answer.
Yeah.
And there are answers that would make a citywide net zero activity possible. Yeah. They really are. We just would need to look into the technology of it and be a little smarter about how we do that. Yeah. Of course, the problem with a lot of these things is when something is in place, and this is the biggest problem we have with traditional fuels. Yeah. Is when you have an infrastructure that is powering a huge city, or in the case of fuels, the world. Yeah. That's there. It takes time to deconstruct it and to get rid of it and replace it with whatever's next, which doesn't mean you can't do it and doesn't mean you don't work on it. It's just, it makes it harder. So like with a big city that's already there, it's a lot tougher than if you're going to decide, you know what, we're going to build the city of tomorrow. Right. And you just pick a spot somewhere and you build the city of tomorrow. You probably could build the city of tomorrow and have the thing be skyscrapers and a Central Park and all the rest of it. And it would be a net zero city. Yeah. But converting something that exists into that will take time. Yeah, it'll take time. Yeah. So the article itself, that's what I was looking out for, is that it's not impossible to do. It's just, but I like to see everyone kind of take upon themselves ways that they can,
change and adjust and do things that are helping reduce their carbon footprint. Not all of us are able to put solar panels on our roofs or install electric vehicle charging ports, but at the end of the day, I think it's just this kind of one step at a time. And when you see a community like this do this, I hope it inspires contractors and building companies to kind of come out and be like, that's our whole specialty. You know, like if you're gonna choose us to design your home, if you're gonna choose us to do this build out on your home or expansion or whatever, tear down, we're going to do it in the most eco-friendly way. Yeah. I hope that it gives rise to
those companies
that.
do exist.
Yeah.
They're already out there, and you can look for them if you're one of the lucky people.
Yeah, they can build, especially in a city like this,
right?
Yeah.
Or is tearing down their place or remodeling or whatever. Yeah. Definitely look for those options because those people are out there, and you can do it.
Yeah,
you totally if you plan from the beginning, you can absolutely pull this off.
Yeah,
yeah.
Awesome.
It's funny you were saying that. Like, how can we be self-responsible? Well, the Golden Globes were about a month ago or whatever.
Yeah, it was about a month ago.
Yeah, and I remember
the Grammys were just this past weekend, which I didn't watch at all.
Right.
Yeah.
When Ricky Gervais was giving everybody in Hollywood a hard time about
he was giving them the business. He was giving them the business
about having just grab your award and sit down and
shut up.
And and to some degree, I can agree with that because you're there to watch.
Yeah.
Awards and beautiful people congratulate each other and pat each other. I mean, that's, so you don't necessarily, I can see why you might not want a political statement at that moment. But I thought that Joaquin Phoenix's little moment at the end there
was great.
Was awesome.
I loved it.
Was spot on because he wasn't saying everybody sucks.
Yeah.
He wasn't saying you're all the world is on fire.
Yeah.
We're not doing anything about it.
That wasn't the message.
You're all stupid. It was. Yeah. It was everybody in this room can do better.
Yes.
Everybody in this room can take more responsibility and you can do more. Yeah. And that is, to me, I was so stoked to hear that because I'm like, that's a message that you can get behind.
Yeah.
Because it's like, don't sit here and yell at everybody else about why the world isn't working. Take responsibility.
Yeah.
Be the solution.
Yeah.
And I was stoked with that, and what you're talking about reminded me of that concept, and so I was going to go on a rant for a minute about it.
No, I think it's great.
That's I think what we're trying to do at the Biofriendly podcast and Biofriendly Planet, right? Is
100%.
to give people the tools that they can take some measure of responsibility themselves, because that's how we fix it. If we all say, "I can fix the problem," if everybody on Earth says, "I can fix the problem," then there will not be a problem.
Well, and I just saw this really cool video that was shared with us about how people respond to the environmental message, and you saw it too, which is it's been proven like psychologically in our brains that when you hear a message that's doom and gloom and depressing, you have the tendency to tune it out, and you have the tendency to walk away and just feel completely immobilized and unable to do anything.
Right, and find something that makes you feel better.
Yeah, the human nature in us biologically is just when you hear that, you kind of go like, oh, I don't want to do it. And they've been able to prove that. And so, really, you guys already know because you listen to the show. And if you're new to the show, that is why we do things our way. And when we have to talk about, the Australian bushfires, and it is a sad and heavy topic, we still want, when we had Steve come on the show, it was about what's going on, what caused some of these things. But we were also it was important for us to kind of feel a little bit of uplifting, like we're going to find our way through this. We're going to give to these organizations. We're going to do what we can. It's a tragic situation, but we're here to uplift and inspire. And there's going to be subjects that are going to be downers, but the goal is to raise us up.
Yeah, and you look at what people in Australia and across the world did do.
Yes,
like
it's amazing.
There's a lot of complaining about how the world is a mess and how could it happen and all these all the problems of why it happened and what's wrong. That's all true and that's all fair. And if you focus on that, then people are going to think there's an impossibly big problem. There's nothing to do.
Yeah.
But if you focus instead on it happened, and people were literally knitting like beds for koalas.
Yeah, right.
You had people like who were going to the nth degree to try to help, to do something to make the damage less.
And that's within all of us.
And then we can do that. And that's the story.
Yeah.
The story is that humanity came through and fought back together.
Yeah.
That's the story.
Yeah, that's the story. So now we just need to convince the rest of the planet to just, take it a little serious one day at a time. And that's what we're here to do.
Yeah. You can do something. Your little bits help. The little things you do help.
Yeah. I'm thinking going forward, by the way, where I've noticed in our new layout,
Yes.
we're talking to each other more.
And not like the...
Yeah, because in the olden days, in the early days,
Yeah.
so when we first started the show, we were facing each other, right?
That was such a pain.
That was such a pain. No, it was great to talk to each other.
I mean, it was
that
great
way.
for me. I didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
But for you.
Yeah, cutting back and forth between two camera angles. Yeah. But then we angled, and the last space, we had a table in front of us, and we were facing forward. So even though, but now we're in this lounge setting where we're kind of angled, we're kind of like, we're relaxing a little bit more, and I feel more comfortable, and I find myself turning to talk to you more, and I realize that my microphone is angled this way, and I should be, so I think I'm going to adjust things, just so you know.
So next week the microphone's going to be moved again?
I think the microphones are going to be moved a little bit more like over here so that we can talk to each other a little bit more.
Right.
Because this is kind of like it's like a two-man show here.
It's a dialogue.
It's a conversation. But that's essentially it with the NetZero communities thing, which I thought was awesome. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Do you think in these NetZero communities that people will realize that walking across the street when there's traffic is a bad idea?
Because they can't hear the cars coming?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very important note, kids. If you live in a NetZero community, you will not hear any of those cars coming because they're all electric and they're super quiet. Yeah. So don't play in the streets.
So don't play in the streets. That's a life lesson.
It's a good general rule.
Here's the thing people don't realize is just because the person is supposed to stop.
Yeah.
And that most people would stop. In fact, I think everybody would stop for the most part. Doesn't mean the person's going to stop.
Yeah.
So don't play in the streets, kids.
Well, and I'm going to say, have I said this on the show before? I was run over by a car playing in the street. So,
really?
Yeah. So, I mean, I speak from experience.
Yeah.
I was absolutely run over by a car as a kid, and they broke my leg, and I was in a wheelchair, and it took a very long time to recover. So I speak from experience. I was definitely playing in the street. And this was in a regular street with cars that were very noisy, and you could hear them coming, but I obviously didn't. So I can't remember if I've told that on the podcast. This is literally episode 48, so I might have.
Don't play in the street, kids. And you're man. All right, I'm going to tell a story.
Okay, do it.
One quick story.
Why not?
Totally unrelated to the environment at all, but a lesson for these NetZero kids who are on the street.
Lesson to the NetZero kids. The NetZero kids sounds like a good, like a new alternative band.
Right?
Right? Yeah, we're the NetZero kids. Anyway, go ahead.
An old friend of the family drove a truck. He's retired now in Australia. And like you'd have these streets that were, in the middle of the night, you'd have very few cars that were going along.
Right.
It seemed pretty safe. But these trucks would go on it. And there was a car that was just traveling, in the proper lane, right, where it's supposed to be. And he's following this car in his truck. And there is a truck now oncoming in the distance, long distance away. That is, he doesn't know if the guy was drunk. He doesn't know if the guy was on drugs or he was just asleep or whatever.
Asleep at the wheel,
and on cruise control and just whatever, but he was in the wrong lane.
Yeah.
So Ian, our family friend, he's like, whoa, this is not good. So he pulls to the wrong lane.
Yeah.
Also the wrong lane because there's nobody out there. It's the middle of the night.
Right.
And then he's going, and the other car's sitting there in front of him, the small car, and it's honking at this truck. It's honking at it.
Yeah.
And so he starts honking at the car in front, like, get out of the way.
Yeah.
And he's honking, and they're honking, and this truck's not moving. The car did not get out of the wrong. Neither car
budged.
So this car, where these people were in the right lane doing the right thing, because they were in the right lane, demolished, dead, instantly by a truck because they didn't switch lanes. Even though
they were, because they were just so like, get out of my way.
Like, I am right.
Instead of going.
Right. Like, I'm right, you're wrong, you have to move, I'm not going to move. It didn't matter that they would not survive the conflict.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So my point in this story, and the way he described it to the police when they went after it, they said, what happened? And he said it was suicide.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Like, it was suicide.
Yeah.
They decided to drive into a truck that wasn't paying attention.
Oh, my God.
Now, this is a heavy story, and I'm sorry to give a heavy story, but the point of the story for the NetZero kids out there is just because you're right, like if you're crossing the street and there's a car coming, it doesn't mean that the person in that car is awake.
Right.
And paying attention.
Yeah.
And whether or not you're right doesn't stop that car from being able to destroy you.
Yeah.
So stay out of the street.
And I would go above and beyond and say that your story was a metaphor for problems
on the planet.
Which is
Stay off the planet.
No, the planet. The problem is a lot of our conversations are a little bit too focused on who's right. Mm-hmm. I'm right. No, I'm right. No, I'm right. When really, there's definitely somebody in the wrong lane coming at you. And whether it's measurable or not, I just think it's time for us to focus a little less on being right.
Right. Where's the pivot? How do we get out of the way of that truck so we can survive?
I think your story is the most apropos thing we've ever said on this podcast, which is too many of us are that car and going, no, I'm right. And I'm saying that on both sides.
Oh, yeah.
The stubbornness and unwillingness to listen to other points of view is causing us to all just drive head on into trucks.
Yes.
So I'm telling you right now that it's less about being right and it's more about listening to the situation and environment around you and making the adjustments in order to survive.
Jacob, I'm brilliant.
Yeah. I think as we wrap up the show, we have our new slogans. I think we've got Beacon, we got Megafauna, and we got Jacob. I'm brilliant. That's a good wrap up for the show.
I love taking credit for you turning my story into a really, really great metaphor.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I thought
I'm a genius.
I think all along
telling
you
that
knew it was the metaphor. You just wanted to give me a little bit of it.
Of course I did.
Of course you did.
Of course I did.
Well, this has been the Biofriendly Podcast. We are your beacon of light in a gloomy environment.
Not just charismatic megafauna.
And Jacob, I'm brilliant. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time.
Have a good one.
Oh, I'm Jacob.
I'm Noel.
Oh, that was good.
That was fun.
It's the Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.